Continuing on in the series, The Arms. I suppose the most known verse about being carried by the arms of God is found in Psalm 23. So that's what we're looking at, the carrying arms. Many artists have painted pictures of a shepherd carrying his sheep to still waters. There's this image that sheep just don't know when to rest, so the shepherd has to physically carry them and make them lie down. There's also the story in the New Testament about how Jesus goes after one lost sheep, leaving all the others until that lost one is found and carried back to safety. So today we're going to look at the arms of God that carry, gather, lift, and hold us. And there's nothing better than knowing and feeling that we are held in His arms. Isaiah 40 says, He tends His flock like a shepherd. He gathers His lambs in His arms and carries them close to His heart, and gently leads those that have young. The arms in this passage tend, gather, carry, and gently lead. Way opposite of being strong-armed that we mentioned last time. Sheep go astray. Sheep are by nature fidgety and anxious, and they need a shepherd. I think the most joyous of times for our children is when their dad lifts them up and carries them on his shoulders. Not only do they feel safe and cared for, they can see above the crowd. There's an amazing thing that happens when God carries us and leads us, and this enables us to see things from His perspective instead of being down on the ground amid the crowds. One New Year's Eve when our kids were little, we took them down to see the ball drop on New Year's Eve on the busiest street in our city. What were we thinking? It was so crowded and our kids were so tiny they would have been unable to see one thing had we not lifted them up to carry them. We cannot see clearly unless we're carried at times, and we cannot be carried if we run in the other direction, causing the shepherd to come after us. Remember the children of Israel again and how God took care of them? God had some strong words for when they began to forget His provision. It said, There you saw how the Lord God carried you as a father carries his son all the way till you reach this place. In spite of this, you did not trust the Lord your God, who went ahead of you on your journey in fire by night, cloud by day, to search out places for you to camp and show you the way to go. Somehow the vision of God's arms were diminished to the children of Israel, and they saw Him as strong, arming them out of slavery into the wilderness to abandon them, when in fact He led them with strong arms and carried them every step of the way. We're told in Isaiah 46, Even to your old age and gray hairs I am He who will sustain you. I've made you and I will carry you. I will sustain you and rescue you. And in Philippians 1, we're told that He who began a good work will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ. Not only does Him lifting us up and bringing us to places of rest, carrying us on His shoulders so that we can see, but He also carries out plans for us to completion. This should bring great comfort to those of us that are parents or have family members that we carry to Him in prayer daily. I suppose that includes everyone. We fall nightly into God's hands, begging for mercy and deliverance and grace for those we love, but we still feel heavy the next morning. Maybe it's because we just don't allow God to carry us, but we need to carry our burdens to Him so that He can carry those to completion as well. Imagine with me a child carrying a huge backpack full of rocks and stones they've gathered during the day. That child lugs around this backpack all day until his back is so tired he can barely walk. His father then picks him up to carry him, and the backpack lays on the boy's chest. How silly would that be? The child would be carried, but the heavy rocks and stones would still be weighing and pressing on the chest of the child. Then the father takes the backpack and completely removes it from the boy's arms and carries it himself. That way the child can truly rest in his father's carrying arms. Remember the tradition of the groom carrying the bride across the threshold when you're just married? Here's where that possibly originated. In earlier times, it was believed that family demons followed the bride to her new home. So to keep them from entering the home, the groom would carry her across the threshold the first time she entered the home, and after that, demons could not come in and the bride was free to come and go as she pleased. Pretty interesting. Whatever that tradition is a good reminder to us that our groom also carries us over the threshold. He shuts the door behind us when we surrender into His carrying arms. We too are free to come and go within the protection of the shepherd, and while we're prone to wander and become anxious, He's destined to carry us and lead us. And that's a comforting thought indeed.